Hi, this is Holt Murray. I'm here at WGBH. I work here, but I also am here, excuse me, with Mike Kirk, and he is a longtime producer, writer, director of many episodes of Frontline, and many of which people will have heard of. League of Denial is one. And I'm gonna, of course, just go down the list because I wrote them down to make sure I got the good ones. Secret History of ISIS, most recently. Secrets, Politics, and Torture. And we have the upcoming The Choice, which is, of course, every 4 years, right before the election, we get a nice take on both the candidates from the best and most unbiased point of view. And enough from me. This is Mike.
Hi there.
And I guess, Mike, a couple of questions just to kind of fill in the people who are tuning in. As a producer of Frontline at PBS, I always wonder what three programs, if it's three, stand out to you for being super difficult in producing, but had the highest payoff as far as like maybe shedding new light on a subject or.
We had a film we made in 2004 when the world first heard of American torture or allegations of American torture at Abu Ghraib, the prison in Iraq. So we went over there and tested the theory that the Defense Department was articulating, which was that this was actions of a few people in Animal House on the night shift. And we thought it might be bigger than that, and we dug into that for several months and came up with what I think a lot of people think of as the definitive story about what really happened at Abu Ghraib. We call it the torture question.
And that's what basically kind of opened the door to everyone realizing what was going on. That was the first.
It was among the very first reports there.
Mm-hmm.
It certainly asked a question in a slightly different way and revealed more than that it was just a few people overnight in what they call the hard site at Abu Ghraib. That it was much more profound than that, and that it was happening in lots of places, and that a lot of what was happening was because of orders or miscommunications all the way up to the Defense Department and the President.
Wow.
So that was part of what the second program is, which is a 4.5-hour film series we made, a 2.5-hour film and a 2-hour film called Bush's War, which a lot of people watched, which really pulled together everything that had happened with the war in Afghanistan and Iraq at that time. Big, definitive, serious statement, mission statement about what public broadcasting uniquely can do. None of the other networks, not CNN, not anybody, pulled together that much material. It was based largely on films we had made and 30 other Frontlines. So Frontline had made a commitment to the Iraq War. I made 11 films there.
Wow.
Frontline had made a commitment to the Iraq War and understanding the Iraq War at all levels, inside military units, at the policy level, during those years over at Iraq, and we pulled it all together into a big series called Bush's War, which is still one of the most popular films, both in terms of rather large audience numbers and in terms of what it did for the journalistic record. The third thing was the film we made where we took on the idea that the National Football League was not coming clean on what was happening with concussions in professional football. And that film, which aired 2 years ago, a lot of people think of as groundbreaking in the sense that it really caused the dialogue to increase. The level of back and forth, and the NFL shortly thereafter began to open up its policies and clean things up. And a lot of people think it was because that film generated huge numbers of viewers, millions of people that came to public television. It was a co-production with ESPN for a while, and then they were intimidated by the National Football League to walk away from the film, which in the end helped us even more.
Now because I feel like you still hear the echoes of that conversation. I mean, and it was probably about a week ago, I saw another article just about everything that the NFL did know, and when ESPN was kind of connected to it, obviously they have a big stake in football to begin with. When they pulled out, that enabled you to kind of go farther with the project?
Well, what actually happened was They were never editorially that involved. It
Ah.
was mostly a kind of promotional relationship, so that when they fell out, it wasn't that we changed anything we did. It was just that so many more eyeballs came because of the controversy. It sort of backfired on the National Football League when they, at least according to the New York Times, when they allegedly told ESPN they had to back away from it. So it helped us draw a lot more eyeballs to the program because of what happened with ESPN and the National Football League.
Just creating that controversy and the press behind
Exactly.
that. Now, and I'm going to jump to a couple different questions, but as I mentioned, every 4 years you put together The Choice, which is a wholly unbiased view of both candidates within the presidential election. And with it debuting later this month, I'm just wondering, and this is kind of just something I was wondering about, what, if any, advice would you give the campaigns to better tell their stories for future elections? Because I heard you talk earlier today, and you were mentioning how the campaigns kind of don't understand a documentary. They don't understand that you're trying to get everything whole cloth, and you're not trying to look for sound bites.
Right. It's what we do is deeply researched, absolutely thorough. More than 50 people get interviewed to be in the film. The typical interview lasts 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours.
Wow.
Lots of television interviews are 15 minutes or less. We're out there in the land of 2.5, 3 hours. We really know the story in a way that the campaigns don't even know the story in lots of cases, and or don't want us to know the story. We're deeply inside, in this case, the Trump and the Clinton campaigns. The biographies are woven together, so they have to kind of fit narratively, but and it's something the campaigns, there's parts of the 90s the Clinton campaign would like to sandpaper over, or there's
Yes.
parts of the Trump life story that they would like to not have us have access to. But our job, and fortunately we have the resources and we have the experience. We've been doing The Choice since 1988, the Dukakis, H.W. Bush choice. We've been doing this idea, which is pure biography, weaving the lives of two very important people together, giving them as much respect as we can for the place they hold in our democracy, but going at really telling their story in an unvarnished and straightforward kind of way. We don't rely on the campaigns for much of our information because we know they're in spin mode
Right.
almost all the time, and we're definitely not in that.
And they're probably pretty well schooled in no matter how tough the question comes out, spinning it back to make them look good one way or the other.
Well, exactly, which is why we concentrate rather than on interviewing the candidates. We don't interview the candidates. We try not to interview people who are in close on policy decisions in the campaign, but we do try to get everybody who really knows them well. In Hillary's case, we have people who knew her in kindergarten, in the 6th grade, in college, all the way along. Friends, people who are friends of hers, who we can help get in close so that we really understand what happened across the course of her life and across the course of Donald Trump's life.
Oh, okay. Now, kind of jumping back, I guess you'd say the 1,000-foot view, I was just wondering, how did you first connect to WGBH? You've definitely been here for a while, producing PBS content.
I came here to be one of the 3 people who created Frontline 34 years ago.
Real.
I came from Seattle. I grew up in Idaho, then Seattle, then here. I was a Nieman Fellow at Harvard for a year before I came in here. It's a journalism fellowship where you sort of get anointed in some way. Frontline was brand new, and the idea was what we will do is go deeper than anybody else is. An hour long, sometimes 2 hours. In my case, sometimes I make a mini series that'll be 4 hours long. And over the years, we just perfected it more and more and more. Hundreds of documentaries have been made by Frontline. When we started, there was a documentary unit in Germany and a big documentary unit at the BBC in England. And now, Frontline is about the last great place where long-form documentary television is being made. So we're the last one standing, and behind you on a wall are dozens of Emmy Awards. We've won everything it's possible to win in the world of journalism, and I think in lots of ways our audience numbers are very high, millions of people, more than the combined front pages of all the Sunday newspapers in America. I used to say to people, if you could be on the front page of the New York Times, the Chicago Tribune, the LA Times, and the Washington Post, you'd be pretty happy about that. And the fact is that our audience at any given time on our big films, the ones I make, are always larger than the combined circulation of those Sunday newspapers. It's a big audience.
Well, no wonder you're still around then.
Well, it's a big part of it, yeah. I mean, the cumulative audience ratings of Frontline are very high. The distribution is very high because we also have a web presence, lots of platforms in other ways, and in international sales as well. So The Choice will air 4 or 5 times on PBS in September and October. It will obviously be on the website. It will be on iTunes. It will be on YouTube, and it will be air in 31 countries around the world. And I'm off to England to show it there a few times, at the American Embassy and other places. It's just the last great bastion of high-end broadcast journalism in America, and cable television, network television news divisions. I have friends who work in all of them, and they always tell me how much they envy what we get to do here. Not only do we get large audiences, but we have the most important resource, which is time to research, time to shoot, time to interview, time to edit, and lots of broadcast airtime. So it's the last, a lot of people say the last great hope for broadcast television journalism, and we're all really proud of it.
Well, I believe it, and you're definitely staying on top of the whole entity is staying on top of all the different ways it can be distributed, as you just were saying.
Exactly.
Now, and this is a little more GBH specific, I guess, but what unique value do you see, and maybe you even said some of them, having the time, the content, the backing, but what unique value does WGBH bring to the Boston market?
I think listen, this is a community that lives and breathes and thrives on high-end technology, medicine, education. In other words, it's an intelligent place. It's an intelligent city. If Hollywood is run by the movies and mass entertainment, and Washington is run by the government, and New York is run by finance, Boston is the most multifaceted city, from my point of view, in America around the one thing that really matters, which is intellectual property. Businesses that are located here tend to have that as their thing that they're doing. And I think the role of WGBH in all of that, as a broadcast and web-based radio and television facility, entity, is a natural fit for the city. And the city has always been absolutely connected to WGBH. In the 35 years I've lived in Boston, it's been I can go anywhere and say I work at Channel 2, and people know what I mean, and they know what that means, and they know what that says about me. Right. And I know, if they know about it, what it says about them. So it's one of those institutions inside Boston and Massachusetts that I think is, as valuable or on a par with the MFA and Harvard and MIT and the educational institutions and the great hospitals and the great innovation companies that have located here and helped drive the intellectual power of this place. And it's a synergy. We all feel it, and we all the work from WGBH reflects it. It's always amazing when you look at public television in other cities and you see how those stations are operating and what they do, and then you reflect on what WGBH does, and it's just remarkable how great this place is.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you. I guess, and if you can divulge, I guess I was just going to ask what some of your upcoming projects may be. I know, I'm sure you can't go into great detail.
We're working on a 4-part series called Divided States of America, which will air. So it's really 4 hours. It's two 2-hour programs that will air the days right before the inauguration in January. So the new president, who will grow out of our program, the choice that we're making now, will see these films. And then what they are is basically a history of the Obama administration and its over those 8 years, and its conflicts with the Republican Party, with the Congress, and what's happened in America that has yielded the kind of partisanship that Obama and all of the people in his administration and the Republican side of the Congress, where those conflict moments happened and what really happened from the actual people who were involved with them. So it's a behind closed doors revelation. All of the people who matter inside the Obama administration have either already talked to us or are talking to us about their perceptions of what happened, and the leadership of the Republican Party are talking to us about what their perceptions of what happened.
So again, you're getting both sides of the story pretty equally and as in depth as you can get.
Absolutely. It's sort of our stock and trade is to go down inside behind closed doors, connect dots you think you know about, the Obama health care plan, what were the Republicans doing, what did the Obama people think was going on, the rise of the Tea Party, what did the Obama people think was going on, what was the traditional moderate Republican leadership in the Congress thinking was going on. You'll know when you watch this film, and so will the new president. You'll know when you watch these 2 hours again, right before the inauguration of the state of America at that time.
Wow, it seems like it'd almost be required viewing for the president, the incoming president.
Well, and I think the current president sees it that way. They've granted a lot of people I've waited to interview for. I've made lots of films about the Obama administration, but I've been waiting a long time for some of these people to come forward, and they have now to talk to us in detail about what happened during those 8 years, and it's just fascinating to watch the parallel tracks of the Obama administration and its expectations, aspirations, and failures and successes bumping up against what's going on with the Republican Party, and by indirection or reflection, seeing what's happening out in America at the same time over the last 8 years that has brought us to the moment where Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are the nominees of the two major parties.
That in and of itself is pretty interesting, side by side. My last question, and it may be a little out there, but what question would you ask you if you were the topic of a documentary? If this was about Mike Kirk's life, and I wanted to get really in depth about, I don't know, is it your greatest fear? Is it heights, or do you hate fish, or is it an allergy you have? What would be the question to you?
No, I think the question for me is what are you worried about? When will it stop? When will you not be able to bring your curiosity and energy to the world of journalism and big ideas and big stories? When will the money dry up, or the impulse dry up, or public broadcasting disappear in a way so that I can't keep doing this for as long as there's breath in my body, because I am one of the most energetic and curious people you'll ever meet, and I really want to get at what is happening at any given moment in any given administration. I've been doing it since the Carter administration, and here we are still at it. National security, defense, wars, the White House, public policy, Congress, those things are the things that really animate me, and I believe the 70 or so frontlines I've made get at an awful lot of that, and I'd like to make another 70 before they take the keys away from me.
Well, we'll all be better for seeing them anyway, and we sure hope so too. So, excuse that. So this is Holt Murray, WGBH. Definitely thanking Mike Kirk for his time, and that's it. Just wanted to give you a little 411 on what's going on with Frontline. Thank you.